Hey guys, I'm back here again for another underrated sequels video. It's actually been, I'd say, about a month since I've done one of these videos, but I'm back for another horror sequel. And this is one sequel that I think either people seem to really like it and it's one of their favorites in the series, or it's one of their least favorites. I've never really heard anyone say that they hate this movie, but I do understand why a lot of people dislike a lot about it, which I will get into in this video. But the movie I'm going to be talking about today is A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. This is the old VHS that came in the the Nightmare on Elm Street collection that came out in I think the late '90s. Where if you put them all together, they create a picture of Freddy on the side. And of course, these tapes came out the same time that the older DVD box that came out. And I decided to hold it the VHS because I don't have a single release of it on DVD. I have it in a box set. And then I have it in a 4-pack with the first 4 movies. And usually when I talk about a movie, I like to just hold up a single release of it. So I decided to get the VHS. I do really like this artwork for it. But so I'm not going to go into about what the movie's about because I'm sure everyone's seen it. I'm mostly just going to talk about why I think a lot of people dislike it and why I enjoy it. But basically the film, it follows this guy named Jesse who's moved into Nancy's house, and of course he's having nightmares about Freddy, and it's starting to Freddy's trying to control him through his dreams, and the whole film begins of Freddy trying to get into Jesse's head and trying to control him and take him over and kill his family. And like there's one scene in the movie that always sticks out when he goes into his sister's room and he looks at her and he says, "Wake up, little girl," and he has the glove on, and so he almost tries to kill his little sister. So but one thing about this one that I noticed ever since I first saw it was I think this one seemed a bit quirkier than the first film and in the later films. And what I mean by that is I think that there's a lot of scenes that was meant to be comedic. Like there's one scene where Jesse, he's on the baseball team and he's playing with, and he's running back and forth through in between his two bases trying to get on a base, and when he ends up getting out, his friends like saying, "Oh, next time Jesse," or whatever, and he ends up pulling down his pants, which I thought that was meant for a comedic thing. And one of the girls over there was like, "Nice ass," so there's moments in this movie that you can tell were sort of done in a comedic way that I think this sort of started the whole thing of Freddy being more of a comedic character. Whereas in the first film, there are a couple comedic moments, but there's not a whole lot. There are a lot of one-liners in the first one. Whereas in this one, I think was sort of the beginning of Freddy being, funny, and he had all these kind of comedic moments and quotes and things like that. And I think this one sort of started it. But basically, one reason that I've noticed that I've heard a lot of people say about this movie, and I think it's probably the main reason why people dislike it, is now when I first saw this, I didn't notice this until after people started to talk about it, and then I started to think, and I don't have any problem with it if it is, but the reason why I hear a lot of people say they're not a big fan of this, or they dislike it, is because of the gay undertones. Like I said, when I first watched it, I didn't really get what they meant until I started rewatching it, and I started seeing a couple of things. Like, it seemed as if that Freddy and Jesse, like, he wanted to be inside Jesse and sort of turn him evil, and make him kill his, make him be a slave in some way. But there's some points in it, like, where he puts one of his claws and puts it up to Jesse's mouth and just goes, shh. Stuff like that, that's a little bit, it kind of made you wonder. I think that the biggest scene in that related to this is when the coach gets killed, when they're in the shower, and Jesse, he just, after he goes into a gay bar, first of all, and in one scene, and, the coach catches him and makes him run laps, and then while Jesse's in the shower, the coach comes in, and Freddy, of course, gets him. And there's a scene where he gets these towels, and he starts going them across the coach's butt, which, again, when I saw it, when I first saw it, I didn't think anything of it, but then I kind of looked at it and I was kind of like, huh, you know. Now, like I said, I have no problem with it if this is what they were going for in the movie. You know, because I mean, it doesn't bother me at all. I mean, I have friends that are gay. I have, you know, friends that are like that. You know, that don't. But I can see why, coming from the first movie and of how dark that the first movie was, and then coming to a movie that had kind of jokes like this and things like that, I can kind of understand why people would be turned off by this movie. Because there are quite a few scenes that are like that. And there are, of course, jokes that people made about the movie, like the scene when Jesse comes into his friend's room and he goes, "I believe that somebody's trying to get inside of me." And his friend goes, "And you want to sleep with me?" And I remember there are people that have done videos where after he said that, they add like a love song to it or something as sort of a joke, you know, just goofing around. And and there are moments in it that are like that. But at the same time, there are also some really great moments. One of my favorite moments in this movie is the opening scene when they're on the bus, and the bus almost runs off of a cliff, and then you know, it's on the big, I guess you'd call it a rock type formation, and the lightning strikes it, and the bus falls into the thing. That's always been one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. There are also some scenes that I know people got turned off by, where, like, the one scene when Freddy comes, he kills all the people at that party, that pool party, and a lot of people did not like that scene because Freddy was killing people outside of a dream, and it kind of, you know, took away what the first one was saying was, you know, Freddy, you know, he kills people in dreams unless you bring him out, whereas in this one he just comes out of the dream and does it, and he only does that, he doesn't do that a whole lot in the series from what I can tell, but a lot of people seem to be sort of bothered by that scene. But there is, of course, a great Freddy quote in it where he's just standing there and he's got his arms spread and he goes, "You are all my children now." And I think that that's one of his best quotes. But yeah, you know, like I said, a lot of people dislike it because of the undertones and the sort of quirky, I guess, cheesy type way it's done. It does have an 80s feel to it, I'd say. You know, the first one, you know, of course they were all done in the 80s, but I think this one has this one has more of an 80s feel than the first one to me. You know, but, you know, like I said, when I first saw this, I knew that there was something different about this one compared to the other ones. I guess because of the quirkiness or because of the scenes like, you know, the coach's death and stuff like that, and I never really thought of it anything until after I heard people talking about it, and I started thinking, well, okay, I get it. But one thing is, I've never heard anyone say they hate this movie, which I think is great. Nightmare on Elm Street, I think, is one series where I've never really heard anyone say they hate a movie in the franchise. Like, I hear people say they hate movies in Halloween, they hate Resurrection. I hear people say for Friday the 13th, they hate Jason X. I've never heard anyone really say that they've hated a sequel in Nightmare on Elm Street. At least from what or at least I haven't heard it yet. But I think out of all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, this is the one that's a bit more misunderstood. And then, I haven't watched any behind the scenes of this movie, but I have heard that I do remember seeing an interview with Robert Englund saying that while he was doing the movie, he felt kind of odd at some of the scenes, like Freddy coming out and killing the kids at the you know, at the pool party outside of a dream, and he kind of felt that the script was a bit, I guess, off, but as far as I could tell, he still really enjoyed doing the movie, and I think everyone enjoyed doing it. So yeah, I mean, like I said, this is definitely the oddball sort of the series, I think. But I also think that it's got a lot of great moments in it, despite, I don't consider them flaws. Like, I don't consider some of the stuff in the movie flaws. I consider them some of, oh, maybe they could have did that scene differently and it would have been scarier, or it would have been creepier or something if they had done something a bit different with certain scenes. But all in all, I still think that this is a pretty solid sequel that, you know, like I said, some people enjoy it and some people don't. And there's a lot of really great scenes of, you know, Freddy, and all in all, I think this has always been one of my favorites of the series, actually. And I've always, you know, had a thing for this one compared to the other ones. I would say, you know, this is definitely in my 5 favorite of the series, I think. But yeah. Anyway, guys, that is my video talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 2. And let me know what you guys think about it. Are you a fan of this movie? Do you understand why people consider it, why some people dislike it because of the undertones as I talk about in in this video? And as for me, you know, I see some of those scenes as being cheesy, like the coach's death scene, and scenes like that. I consider that as cheesy stuff. But I think in a way it makes the movie fun in a way, and I think that this was sort of the beginning of Freddy being more as a comedic character instead of just a killer. Because in the you know, in the first movie he did do you know, he was a killer and he did have great one-liners. But in this one he sort of started to become more of the comedy type character, you know, with all the great one-liners and the great lines that, you know, he's known for in the rest of the series. And then I think in Nightmare 3, he had a good mix of both comedy as well as scariness. But anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think about Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Do you think it's, you know, overrated, or do you think it's underrated? Because I know some people, they praise this movie and they say it's one of their favorites. Personally, out of the entire Nightmare on Elm Street series, this is probably one that I think a lot of people will sort of scratch their heads at, but like I said, I've never heard anyone say that they dislike it. So anyway, let me know what you think about the movie. Do you think it's underrated like I think it is? Because I really do think it's a good sequel. And just give me your thoughts on the film. But anyway, guys, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks to everybody for subscribing. I will probably have a new video up by Saturday. So see you guys next time. And yeah, you are all my children now.